Hi, I'm Brendan from the Rider Experience, and in today's video we're going to be looking at how to trim your bar and lines. If your bar and lines aren't trimmed correctly, it can make your kite act in ways which we don't want it to. This can happen over time because lines can get stretched. They can also shrink if bits of sand and dirt get stuck in it along the whole line. It can make the lines shrink. So stretching, shrinking, if maybe you've had a bit of a kite mare or something like this has happened and a line's got stretched, like just one line, and also maybe if a line snapped on you and you got a replacement line, it could need adjusting to make sure it's the same length as the rest of the lines. If we take our bar and lines now, we would want them all to be the same length. So the bar's pulled all the way in and all the lines are exactly taut. So we can see now we've attached all the lines to an anchor point. We can put pressure on this now. The kite's fully powered up and all the lines are the same length. If one of the lines was a little bit shorter than one of the others, the bar could sit a little on an angle, and if you pulled it in straight and the kite was flying at 12, it can then pull to one side. If it has a tendency to pull to one side, when your kite's at 12 with the bar all the way in, this is a good sign that your bar might need trimming. Also, if you find you're always holding the bar on a bit of an angle over time, this is another thing that can happen because you kind of counteract the line changing. If your bar's pulled all the way in and the kite is then back stalling where it starts to slide backwards in the wind window, this is a sign that your center lines could have stretched, outside lines could have shrunk, and it may need trimming. So I've already set this bar up earlier to check it, and it's a pretty new one, so it's all okay. So we're going to be looking at some other bars now. Just another thing to mention, we're looking at Hannah's bar now, which is a little bit older, is especially if you brought older second-hand equipment, you definitely want to check that it's working okay, because these lines may have been more stretched, especially if you haven't owned the bar from new. To check these bars now, we've got some points here we've just attached these leashes to, and we're going to attach the lines here. On these duotone bars, they all have loops on the end, so we can just slip those all straight on, like so. On this core bar, we have knots and loops, so what we're going to have to do is take these off. Then we have loops all here which we can use instead of the piggy tails. What we'll do quickly now is we'll just run the bar and lines, the duotone one as well, as if you were setting up on the beach, and it's just a bit clearer to see the lines. And we will just slip them on in order, like so. Okay, and we're going to wander back to the bar and lines to check now. So we're looking at this bar now, and when all the lines are taut, we can see that the center lines have been stretched, maybe the outer lines have shrunk a little. Ways to sort this out: we could look if we've got space on the lines here, or we move up the foamies on a lot of bars, but there's no extra adjustments much to fix this much space. A temporary solution is you can depower the kite, and actually if we fully depowered it now, the kite would be trimmed perfectly, but the issue with this is it means we can no longer use our depower, so we need to find another solution. Because the outside lines and the bar is straight, we know that we just need to change the center lines or the outside lines, and we can see when we put tension on that there's about this much space, so that's just about the space that we need to adjust this bar. Okay, so the other way we have to check your bar and lines, of course we can check it when it's in the air, we can attach them all to one point, but actually the best way to check it is to have a friend hold the bar and you pull on, they hold the bar so the bar's straight and the chicken loops all the way up, and you pull on all the lines from this end so they're all taut, and then from here you can see the difference. On this bar we were able to see that from the bar, but with smaller differences, it's a lot easier to check this way. So what we're going to do on this one is we've got some extra piggy tails we're just going to add on, and that will hopefully sort this problem out. So just got 2 here. Now we take all of them just at the end, and we can see now that that's trimmed that bar perfectly now, and all the lines are taut, and hopefully that is now gonna fix that problem. So that's that bar sorted. Now with this bar, I've powered it all the way up and I'm putting tension on, and it feels okay from here. But I was flying the kite the other day and I can feel it starting to slowly pull to one side, and if we get a little bit of slack on it, you can see that one of the center lines has slightly more slack on the other one. If we really pull on it now, all of the lines actually go the same, and there is a way by just putting lots of tension on it for a while you can stretch out lines for very, very small differences by just putting lots of pressure on them, but it's pretty hard to see from the bar. So what we're going to do is get somebody to hold the bar for us and check it from the other side, because I could feel when the kite was in the air with this bar the other day that it wasn't performing quite right. Sometimes when you're pulling on the lines from this way, it's easier to pull on the 2 steering lines and the 2 center lines, because sometimes when pulling on all 4 it can be a bit tricky to see exactly what's going on, so you can separate them. And I'm pretty happy on this bar that the 2 outside the steering lines are okay, but from looking at this with the center lines, we can see that one of them has been stretched a little more than the other. So to fix this problem, because it's only a small distance but it's too much to stretch, we're just going to put a knot in the piggy tail and have a look how that is. And just from that one knot, you could do a figure of 8 if you needed to, if there was a bit more, but from that one knot, that's then trimmed that pretty much perfectly, and hopefully we can now test that on a kite and see if that's working okay. So that's hopefully gone through a few ways how to check and how to actually fix the lines if the lines do need trimming. It's really important if, especially if you're a beginner and you've brought some set used gear and you're not sure about it, to maybe get a more advanced friend to check the bar and lines with you, because we had a couple of people actually in the last season or 2 who have turned up with they brought second-hand kites and they're really struggling to get on and keep on maybe having a few kite mares, and then we put up their kites for them because they want maybe an extra lesson on their kites, and they're back stalling or really pulling to one side, and they, you know, you may not even realize that this could be the case. So especially with older used gear, it's really important to check. And also with your new equipment, it's surprising how much the lines can shrink a bit or stretch a bit, so a bit of bar trimming is very useful and it's good to know. All right, thanks for watching. Bye.